Hey, this week I was asked to bring my testimony to the Branded Hearts Youth Group. Now check it out, my testimony so closely resembles the story of Jonah that I decided to give it a bit of a recap. You see, Jonah was a man called by God to do a specific task. His task in this case was to go speak against the Ninevites. What did he try to do? He tried to outrun God. He boarded a ship and went in the complete other direction, and finally God sent a storm that nearly destroyed that entire ship to get his attention. You think it worked? I'd say so. After some pleading, the crew finally agreed to throw him overboard, and at that moment the storm ceased. We all know the rest of the story. He was sucked up by a gigantic fish and puked up on the shore of Nineveh. I digress. As for me, the army was like my fish, and with it, all the storms. You see, I was called into a specific ministry with a focus on multimedia, film production, and video production. I didn't make it. I quit at the first sign of trouble. I couldn't get into film school because I didn't have the money, and I ran the other direction. I thought I could join the army and just live my life how I wanted to live it. But even then, God was faithful and sought me out. He provided a way for me to get back into multimedia, back into film, and eventually back into ministry, but now with a degree in cinema in my toolkit. An interesting thing to note about Jonah's storm is that it didn't just affect him. It affected each and every person that was on that ship. There could have been other passengers, we don't know, but we at least know that there was a crew. We'll say a crew of a small vessel, maybe 10, maybe 15, somewhere in that ballpark. But the point is that it didn't just affect Jonah. Those sailors nearly lost their ship. They nearly lost their lives. They nearly lost their livelihood and all the cargo that they threw overboards trying to lighten the ship. The point is that Jonah's disobedience put everybody else's life at risk. But the good news is that in your storms, you have the ability to choose whether that effect that you have is positive or negative. See, Jonah, in the middle of his storm, decided to be once again obedient to God and trust in the plan that God had laid out for him. He asked the crew to throw him overboard, and as soon as he hit the water, that storm ceased. The crew was so moved by the power of the one true God. Right there on the spot, they offered sacrifices, and they dedicated their lives to serving the one true God. Jonah's act of obedience had a long-lasting, positive impact on those sailors. In your storms, in your moments of crisis, how do your choices affect the people around you? Is it a positive impact or is it a negative impact? Do they reflect the love and power of God, or do you simply act out of the flesh? Put your eyes on the Lord through your storms and just watch what happens to the lives around you. Have a blessed week, y'all. I'll catch you next time.